Amisha, I'd like for you to address something. I have gotten some people saying, I'm not watching it. I'm not watching it. And why are you talking about it on your show every day? I don't want to hear it. There is trauma around it. I've said a bit of what you said, but I'd love for you to elaborate on it. I'm talking about it and I'm covering it because it's historic. Who knows when it will happen again? Uh, but what do you say to people who said, "Nope, I'm not watching it. I'm not going to engage in it at all"?
Well, I want to be careful in how we have this conversation because as a Black woman, I understand that, trauma compounding trauma is not something that's exciting to watch. And
Yeah.
I think that time and time again, we've seen Black women ascend to powerful positions. We saw with Kamala Harris as well, Vice President Kamala Harris as well. Black women get attacked despite the accolades, despite the hard work, despite the esteem, despite being in often situations the smartest person in the room. What we're watching right now with Judge Jackson live is her being attacked simply because she's a Black woman. Period. This is a woman who's dual Harvard degree. That's the top tier of education you're going to get in this country. Not only in undergrad, but also Harvard Law. She graduated at the top of her class both times. This is a woman who has the esteem not only in her field, but also in her background. And I feel like when you have someone like that who has done everything right, who still ends up getting beat upon day in and day out by these white mediocre men who don't have anywhere near the intellectual capacity she does or the record that she does, it can be it can be very hurtful. Having someone ask her on a scale of 1 to 10, how Christian are you? Being
Mm.
challenged not only by your religion but also your birthright as an American. Also, because being Black, being a hyphenated American, a Black American automatically equals being less than American in this country. It is traumatic. And because Black women have a double assault, because the religious right, because the white Republicans have taken it upon themselves to hate on Black women in a vitriol that they do not reserve for anybody else, not even Black men, because they were able to peel off some Black men in the last presidential election and the first presidential election for Donald Trump. They don't see that same leverage with Black women. Black women are leading in civil rights. Black women out organized any organizers we've ever seen in this nation's history when it came to not only the George Floyd protest, the longest running civil rights protest in history, but also in terms of the sheer amount of Black people who came to the polls in 2020, literally because of the work of Black women. So I think that we have to be very strategic in how we talk about this and how Black women don't want to see their trauma compounded time and time again in someone who is making history. But with that being said, I think about the youth. I know the Black News Channel has covered several times this week, not only high school students, but college students, law students, Black women and Black men who see in themselves what is possible. I think that this is not only a historic moment because it's a Black woman, it's a historic moment because in this nation, it is showing us that everything that they tell us about what we're not able to ascend to, she has done, and she's done it, and she's proof positive that it can be done, even though it's taken how many years. We have never seen a Black woman in this space, not even considered. So I think that having her there, even though she's taken stupid questions left, right, and sideways, this is a good thing for America. This is a good thing for us to see. And it is hard. There have been points where I wanted to, was almost, raised to tears when they're trying to say or trying to posit that she doesn't care about children. This is a woman who has proven time. She sits on boards for youth. She also is a mom, but to be a Black mom is less than being a white mom, is less than being a mom in general, because historically speaking, in this country, Black women have always been seen, and our children seen as non-worthy, and Black moms seen as non-moms. So I think we have to think about this in the cultural aspect. Our children being stripped from us, Black women being seen, being diminished in so many ways as it relates to family and culture. It's a hard thing to watch. So I understand the people who've said that they don't want to because it can bring back very painful memories. But with that being said, this is a moment that Black women and Black people should be celebrating because we are here. We are here and we aren't going anywhere. And Ketanji Brown Jackson is going to be the next Supreme Court justice, regardless of what Republicans have to say. The numbers are there. Those Democratic votes are coming through. Those Democratic senators are coming through. Black women should be cheering this on because the sole reason why she's about to get this is because number one, we have a Black female vice president, but also because Georgia came through and gave us 2 senators. So I think we have to be very, very honest about what's happening now, but also very real about the fact that for some people, trauma is not something they want to hear and see every day. They can cheer her on without necessarily having to watch her go through the ringer day in and day out for hours on end.
And Keith, I want to remind people of something. So for all the references to critical race theory, and when you think of critical race theory, for folks who know it, they think of Derek Bell, right? Derek Bell, Harvard, and you took Derek Bell's critical race theory class, correct, Keith?
Yes.
A lot of folks don't know that Derek Bell supported Clarence Thomas going to the Supreme Court. A lot of folks don't realize that. Maya Angelou supported Clarence Thomas going to the Supreme Court. Clarence Thomas got the support of 11 Democrats when he during his confirmation. So it's interesting to me that, and Clarence Thomas, we've all seen the viral comparisons of qualifications on the Supreme Court. He was deeply, he didn't have anywhere near the qualifications that Ketanji Brown Jackson had. But isn't it fascinating that you had the mastermind of critical race theory supported Clarence Thomas, right? And now with Ketanji Brown Jackson, it's going to be a split even vote. When a lot of folks forget, Keith, Clarence Thomas had a lot of support in Black communities. Folks forget that. There were folks calling it out, saying this guy is dangerous, the NAACP was, and so on. But there were a lot of folks supporting him. So I just find it kind of fascinating for all the talk of race and critical race theory. Clarence Thomas, for folks who think, oh, Black folks just hate on Clarence Thomas, he had a lot of Black support, and the king of critical race theory supported Clarence Thomas. Go ahead, Keith.
Well, Clarence Thomas is complicated. I mean, he started out in the 1960s and 70s as the Black radical. I think it helped across, and he was very pro-Black. And then I think and he had a Black wife. Then he divorced his Black wife and got involved in the Reagan administration in the 1980s, married a white woman, and became very ensconced in conservative legal communities and the Federalist Society type of groups. And then he got elevated to the Supreme Court with practically no experience, simply chosen by identity politics because he was a Black man replacing Thurgood Marshall, who was a Black man. Never mind that Thurgood Marshall had argued cases in front of the U.S. Supreme Court, argued the Brown versus Board of Education case, served as the U.S. Solicitor General, the highest ranking Justice Department official, arguing in front of the Supreme Court before he got on the Supreme Court. Clarence Thomas had just barely been on any federal court shortly before, no judicial experience, no really, they keep talking about judicial philosophy. He had no judicial philosophy. He claimed in his Senate Judiciary Committee hearings in the 1990s that he never, ever thought about the Roe versus Wade decision that came out while he was at Yale Law School. Just inconceivably dense, incomprehensibly so. And so to compare Clarence Thomas to Ketanji Brown Jackson, I mean, you're talking about the minor league versus the major league. I mean, not only did she come in with no credible sexual assault allegations against her, but she comes in more qualified than any current member of the Supreme Court did when they joined the bench. I mean, she's not only served as a federal trial court judge, she's also served as a federal appellate court judge. She also served as a public defender. She also served on the U.S. Sentencing Commission. She also, in addition to that, clerk for a Supreme Court Justice, Justin Breyer, and she graduated from the top law school. No other person on the Supreme Court has that experience. Not one, not even Chief Justice Roberts. So the idea that somehow she's not qualified is just laughable. And the idea that people are concerned about Clarence Thomas and the way he was treated when he shouldn't even have been considered for the court is not even a fair comparison. And I agree with you, Clay, about those people back in the 90s who thought that maybe Clarence Thomas might be sort of a double agent. He might actually turn out to be something different when he gets on the bench. I knew that was foolish from the beginning. I said that from the beginning. But the great irony, I'm glad you pointed this out, is that this one person, Derek Bell, who is this boogeyman for the conservative movement today because he represents critical race theory, he was even willing to support Clarence Thomas. But they can't support Ketanji Brown Jackson.
History is so important. You're going to bring up critical race theory, not knowing the king of critical race theory supported Clarence. It's so many things. It's so many things here.